Hey, what's good everybody? It's Jordanplayspickle back at it again with another video for you guys. Now, I thought the Vatic saga was complete, but the saga continues because we have a few more paddles and shapes that I want to talk about. Initially, I wasn't going to make a video about this at all, but there's been a lot of requests from you guys to hear my thoughts, so I'm going to give you some of those now. Now, I just want to stipulate that this is in no means a full review. We are going to be talking about some external shapes and paddles by Vatic, but if you want a full saga review, you can go back to my channel and look at that. Specifically, what we're going to be talking about today are the Vatic Saga Bloom and Prism Bloom, as well as the sagas in the 14mm variants. I want to say thank you to Vatic for giving me these paddles for review purposes. However, there is no review promised at all, and there is no input given about this video. So let's start off with the Vatic Bloom. Now, these have been out for a while. The Bloom Saga and the Bloom Prism are the two that I have hit the most. I also have a 14mm variant of that Prism, but let's talk about what I thought about these paddles. Now, I'm not typically a standard shape guy. It's something I can play with for sure, but it's not something I gravitate towards. So these definitely took a little bit of getting used to for me, but once I got used to them, they were a lot of fun to play with. Now let's talk about the Vatic Prism, because I know a lot of people already have this paddle, and if you love this paddle, you will probably love the Bloom variant as well. It's very stable, it resets really well, it has that really soft feel that you get used to from the Prism line, and well, I really like it. I do feel that in today's game it might be a little bit underwhelming in some of the power and pop areas, but if you are familiar with playing with a Prism, I don't see why you wouldn't like this one. Now, if you haven't played with a standard shape paddle, as I mentioned earlier, it takes some getting used to, so if you have an opportunity to try one prior to buying, that would be my recommendation. Overall, I did like this paddle. I wouldn't say it was for me. I tend to be a weaker player and I need a little bit of boost in my power for my paddle itself. So, while I liked it just with the speed of the game, it's not one that I was finding myself gravitating towards. The Saga Bloom, however, I did find myself coming to a few times. Maybe it's because I'd already played with the Saga Flash and was familiar with the power and pop package that it provided. But again, this was a really good alternative for people who like that standard shape. It played very similar to the Flash. I felt that I actually had pretty decent power in my serves with it, and again, it has lower pop, so it plays really well at the kitchen. It has some power when needed at the baseline, so all of this was really good, and it did provide a little bit more stability than the existing Flash had. I think this is a good alternative for people that have been playing with the Prism, especially if they want to try out a standard shape paddle, because this will give you a pretty familiar package. It won't take that much adjusting to, but will give you some power to keep up with today's game as well. So of that original batch of Blooms that I received, this one and then the two Prisms, this was definitely my favorite. So let's talk about the 14mm line of the Vatic Pro Sagas, and one difference that you'll notice right away is the aesthetics of the paddle itself, having an etched samurai rather than the orange outlined samurai that you see on the 16mm variants. I don't think you can go wrong with either of these. They're both striking, they're both really good looking paddles. However, I think I do prefer the orange samurai as it gives a little more punch and bold colors to the paddle. Now, 2mm can't make a difference, right? I kind of expected these to play pretty similar, maybe a little more hand speed on these ones, but I couldn't be further off. Before we go any further, the shapes that I have played with the most have been the Flash 14mm with a standard handle length, as well as the Saga Bloom 14mm. Now, like I said, I didn't expect these paddles to play much different, but they really did in a few different ways. And one of the things that really caught me off guard is how light all of these paddles are. All of them came under 8 ounces from my batch, and all of them felt really light in the hand, albeit the V7s felt a little head heavy compared to the rest. Even though I expected a 14mm variant to be less weight than its 16mm counterpart, it was something that was much more noticeable than I would have thought, and something that I really did appreciate. The other thing that surprised me about the 14mm variant of the Vatic Sagas was, man, these things are a lot more poppy. I don't know if this is simply because they're thinner or if there's something else that Vatic has done to make this the case, but if you are expecting a similar feel to the existing Sagas with a little bit faster hand speed, this might not be the paddle for you. When trying to think of paddles that play similarly to the 14mm variants of the Sagas, the one that comes to mind is Paddle Tech, but it's definitely something that you should try for yourself to see if it's something you like. Personally, I did like the extra pop. It took me a little bit of time to control, especially with the Bloom, since that's a shape I'm not used to. But once I got used to it, it was really, really nice to have a little bit more punch at the line and to be able to keep in points a little bit longer. Now you probably noticed I do have some lead on the flash, and I would put it on the Bloom as well. As much as I really did enjoy playing with these paddles, I do think they need some lead to help with stability. They played pretty good, but near the edges, there was definitely some instability and twisting in hand. So I was in a 3-game set actually, and I threw this lead on during the beginning of the second game, and it made a world of difference. The nice thing is these come out at a really low stock weight, so you should be able to try some different lead setups, mess around a little bit without these feeling head heavy or exhausting on the wrist. As I said, I just did a really quick corner setup for the flash, and that worked really well. I'm not sure what I want to do with the Bloom yet, so I will update you guys when I find a better lead setup for this paddle. Overall, I did really like the 14mm variants. I think the pop is nice to have at the line. They're a little harder to control, but if you're wanting to get a Paddle Tech-like paddle and not wanting to spend $200+, this might be the paddle for you. I will stipulate, I do think that this paddle needs lead, and I would recommend at least trying it on the throat area to see how you like it, and then maybe adding more as you get more comfortable with how it plays. That's all I got for you guys. If you have any more questions, feel free to write them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer each and every one of them. But overall, I think Vatic's doing a really good job with the Saga lineup. I think it's wise of them to push this Gen 1.5 paddle out because it's familiar technology, but it also has a ton of variants, so there's gonna be something for everyone there. Let me know what paddle that you're most interested from this lineup in, and we will talk about this in the comments. Appreciate all of you. God bless. Have a great day.